The reason it's called the Maple Leaf House, from what we understand, is the footprint of the home. So if you were to look at it from an aerial perspective, kind of looks like a 3-leaf clover, but in true Canadian form, they've named it the Maple Leaf House. I quietly stalked this house on MLS or realtor.ca for about 14 months. There was just something about it that kept bringing me back to this listing, and I just felt compelled. And then finally, when it got to a price point that made sense, because we knew it needed some work, I said to Chris that I needed to get it out of my system or go take a look. And the second I walked into this house,
yeah, I knew we were in trouble and it was going to be ours eventually.
So when we closed on the house, the previous owner had requested about a 9-month closing period. Reluctantly, we said yes because we were so excited to get in, but in hindsight, it was the perfect plan because it gave us the time to work with Mera team to get everything essentially ready to go so that the day we got the keys, we were able to start the project. And in that time, I was also able to befriend the previous owner and was in the home multiple times, coming over for tea and getting to know the story of the home and getting to know her. And so the house was originally built and designed by her husband, and her brother. There was a lot of love in this house. Her husband was very handy from our understanding, and if she needed a table or a desk, he would build it. She was the first person that we showed the house to after everything was done because we wanted her blessing and her to see sort of, how the home was going to move into this new era.
I completely trust Nya's vision when it comes to the house and kind of where she wanted to take it. I love the style as well. I like individuality when it comes to, housing, other sorts of things, but I trusted kind of where she wanted to go with it. So.
For the sake of our marriage.
Yeah.
Just kidding. There were definitely some updates that were needed, but we worked with the Mera team really closely to make sure that we stayed true to the house, and so a lot of this room especially is original, and this is what drew us to it. It's just a beautiful space with a lot of mid-century accents that you don't find anymore. Unfortunately, people will come into homes like this and gut them and start again. Our goal was to keep this home intact and honor its original beauty.
Our clients are so lucky when they can move into a space that already has character. And I think that we're like big believers in keeping those elements.
Emphasizing them.
Yeah, because it is the thing that's the heart of the home. So if we can put in a design that complements that and makes it all look cohesive, then I think in the end we've really done what we were striving for. The layout itself is actually pretty interesting because really, like, if you dumb it down and you think of a leaf, how they have the central vein through it, that's basically like the floor plan of the house. So it's 3 leaves with a central vein.
So the kitchen was tiny, had one of those low sunshine ceilings. The dining room is kind of off to the side. And it was cramped. And for a family that wanted to have more of an entertaining space, naturally you'd want to open it up. And within one of the actual wings of the maple leaf, you really didn't have a ton of options. So we expanded everything to kind of combine the layout.
We also ended up using a supplier out of Toronto, Marble Trend, and they helped us with getting a really cool terrazzo countertop to put in the kitchen. Again, you would see terrazzo for this age of home, but typically you'd find it in the floor. So it seemed like a natural way to bring it into the home in the kitchen and kind of just add a really fun punch in a family kitchen. We did open up the entry a little bit, and one thing we did in there was adding in flagstone, which we thought just like brought in kind of like a fun, playful character into the entry.
And then incorporated things like an entry planter that gave a little bit more of a privacy as you come into the house. Just for functionality with the 2 boys, we added in a second bathroom up there. So just a small little footprint. And then in the master or the primary suite, we opened it up to basically similar to the kitchen where we took out that central vein to make it a bit more of an expansive space. Those were really the biggest layout changes. The rest were mainly finish updates.
There's definitely a trend in interiors that have like a reference or a feel from the 60s and 70s. So we were lucky enough to have like a lot of finishes that were trending and being available at suppliers. Like for instance, terracotta tile or flagstone.
We were lucky in what Tara is saying in having such unique textured wall, almost like a travertine kind of wallpaper. And then the tiles are very much something that we would pull a spec for now, and then matching all of the different types of wood millwork.
I believe when Nya and Chris purchased the house, as part of the purchase agreement, there was a few restrictions in there of things that couldn't be taken out of the home. So I feel like that's like actually quite unusual, and maybe just like speaks to the amount of love that went into building this home. So one of those elements that we had to work around and we were not really allowed to touch was the stair railing. And to be honest, I feel like that's great because it is one of those elements. It's really a feature when you walk into the home.
It's very unique.
But I think it's probably one of the most appealing things about this home is that the original owners had such a love for the home. And then I think when Nya and Chris came in, it just felt like it was a continuous affinity for this age and style of home.